news.
Connecticut State Police responding to reports of a shooting at an elementary school in Newtown.
Two young men apparently dressed in long black trench coats opened fire at a high school just outside of Denver.
There has been a school shooting at Taft High School in California.
The act of a lone gunman at a movie theater in Aurora, Colorado.
Gunfire aimed at elementary school children.
The two guys came into the library and were just shooting everyone that they could.
We have to learn that when we forgive, that forgiveness comes, with wholeness and the experience of what true freedom represents. No matter where the barriers or the hurt, the wounds, or the pain is coming from, we must all begin this journey to forgiveness together, arm in arm, spirit to spirit. So we want to be able to recognize that as we move as Cherokees to forgive each other, that we can begin to accept forgiveness. And the beauty of experiencing forgiveness is when I ask you to forgive me, I must afford the same consideration when someone wants me to forgive them. Oftentimes we get caught up in that, and we forget that when someone asks us to forgive, and it's easy oftentimes to do that. But then when we are asked to forgive, then we are quick to forget that consideration that we had asked for. This is a bigger plan than us, and all we're doing is following an urging that God has put on our hearts to have events that people can experience just a small sampling of what healing looks like and what it represents. And then they can decide if they want to continue because of that experience. We're not in charge of the healing process. We're not the great physician. He is. All we are is people with a willing spirit, and recognizing that if God can heal us, He will also heal you.
People said to me, what's a white man doing going on the Cherokee journey to healing and forgiveness? And some people didn't say it because they were too polite, but they were thinking it. And I said, my people were on that journey too. My people were the politicians that voted for the Indian Removal Act. And my people were the politicians that argued against it and lost. My people were the soldiers that came to people's homes and marched out women and children and men at the point of a bayonet. And my people were the missionaries that told that story to the newspapers all over the country. My people were the neighbors that collected blankets and food when the people were removed so fast to give to their neighbors. and the stockades. And my people were the ones that swept in immediately afterwards to burn the homes and burn the crops and steal the livestock and take the food and take the crockery just as quick as they could. Excuse me. So this is our story too, and I don't know how we're going to heal until we tell that story. So I've been doing some reading around, honestly, my question, what's a white man doing on a forgiveness journey? My question is, how can one people do this to another people? I mean, especially given we all know that Creator just made one people. Right? And I think it comes from telling the wrong story. We've told ourselves the wrong story. And that story, the story that we brought with us from Europe, was a story of white supremacy. We lost sight of the fact that we are one people among the many, and we told ourselves a story that we are one people above the rest. And once you start telling that story, it's poison for the heart and the spirit. I'm deeply sorry for what my people have done, for what I myself have done, and I honestly don't know how to live with the fact that I'm the beneficiary of the trauma that you've suffered. I'm not going to ask for forgiveness because I don't feel like I have any right to ask. And because I think before one can ask for forgiveness, one needs to stop the evil that's asked for being forgiven. Way back when the Congress was debating, can the Indian people be civilized? And a little later on, they were debating, are Indians really fully human? And it's really clear to me that we had it backwards. And the question that we were really answering in those debates is, can we be civilized? Can we treat our brothers like our brothers? The question we were answering is, can we be fully human? Can we look in the mirror and see not just the people that look like us, but all the people that Creator made? And back in the 1830s, I think we came up short on both questions. I'm not sure that we would do a whole lot better today, but I give you my word that for myself and for my son and for my family, I will do my best to tell the truth and to heal.
For those of us that don't understand, and I'm only just learning the history of what actually happened on the Trail of Tears from a Cherokee perspective.
Oh, yeah.
We know it in how we were raised in our own history books, which
honey, it was
really
just
resonated.
a paragraph. Yeah, the Native Americans were relocated in the American history books. It's an entirely different story in reality. There was a letter that was written by a Union soldier that was part of the escorting on this northern route.
Okay.
And he wrote a letter and said he thought that he had seen the worst of man in the Civil War, with hundreds of people being killed in one field.
Wow.
He said that doesn't touch the cruelty of this.
Oh.
And oh my God, it brought tears to my eyes. So that gives, and that was a handwritten note that was preserved.
Wow.
That Trail of Tears, they didn't call it that then, but this removal act was the cruelest thing he had ever seen. Children dying.
Oh.
And the Native Americans, many, it wasn't just Cherokee, all the tribes were
all
marked.
the tribes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as they made their journey and they died, they wouldn't even allow them to do ceremony to take care of their dead. Oof. They had to leave them, oftentimes without even burying them.
Oh.
So it was a cultural, absolutely horrific shock to everybody that was involved, even the soldiers that had to march them.
The forgiveness journey is all about being in the now as well, right?
Absolutely.
So is that the whole purpose of doing the Trail of Tears again and the healing ceremonies?
Well, it was, Patty had a vision.
Okay.
And her vision was a vision of healing and forgiveness. Now, as she had that vision, a monument came to Cherokee from Tahlequah. And that monument was Transformation Through Forgiveness.
Beautiful.
And it was a 16-foot high bronze monument of a Native American wrapped in an eagle. And so that monument came to Cherokee. Patty had her vision. She went out to Oklahoma and talked with the chief of the Cherokee Nation, the chief of the Katua Band, and they all wanted to support this effort.
It's beautiful.
And so what it evolved, and there was a 3-year planning period, but what it evolved to in 2012 was a journey to forgiveness and healing. What took place is that Cherokee left the Koala boundary on a bus, and we drove out to Tahlequah. And then we were stopping at 7 significant places on the northern route to come back to Cherokee. There's 3 recognized federal tribes of Cherokee. The Eastern Band of the Cherokee Nation, which is by far the largest, and then the Katua Band. So those are the recognized tribes. One of the most unique things before we started doing the Trail of Tears backwards, for forgiveness, was that they did a stomp dance.
Okay.
And a stomp dance is a religious ceremony of the ancient ways. And that was the first time that the tribes had danced together since the Trail of Tears.
Oh my.
The intent was to come back on the Trail of Tears backwards. And so we did walk some of it, but it was, a bus ride from one location to the next. And we did healing ceremony. And Don Kiowas was the facilitator. And he had a hoop, because, the Native Americans, their thinking is circular. The sacred hoop is representative of their life generation after generation.
Okay.
And it was a hoop of 100 eagle feathers. So it was just powerful.
Magical.
And then a mask that also had, eagle feathers on it. And so we would do healing circles, at each location. And they would last up to 3 hours. I mean, it went to the innermost part of your being. And so when we started, the very first healing circle, some of the children were very honest. And they said they hated the white people.
Okay.
They didn't know why we were there. They wished that we weren't on the journey, And, and
Sure.
just very
Being genuine.
honest. Sure. Which was, that's the safety of doing this healing. And let me tell you, by the next, that went on for 3 hours, and a lot of tears, a lot of wailing, deep felt emotion. And the intent was to honor those who have passed by there and to ask forgiveness from our ancestors, whether it be the soldiers that marched them or the Native American, for what took place, and to not carry that hatred any further. What they did, they forgave the unforgivable. They released the past so that they could live now and have their future.
That's the key.
Yeah.
And generations pass it on.
Oh, absolutely.
What we don't heal ourselves is passed on.
Absolutely, for 7 generations.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
And so this journey that the Cherokee made was so important because the tears that flowed were expressed to prevent the next 7 generations from having to feel that. And so the idea and what they're doing now is trying to continue this journey. And so, when you're in high school, or when I was in high school, we did our senior trip, you went to different places. Well, they're trying to incorporate the trip to offer to students at Cherokee, because the healing begins with the youth.
Right.
It's real important to stop that vicious cycle. And, those who went, it changed their lives.
Sure.
And so those children are going out into the communities now, you know, and saying, well, no, wait a minute.
Mentors.
Yeah, as mentors. Yeah, so that's what it's, in my opinion, that's what it's about.
The part of the story, interesting, you just made the link that I didn't even recognize, is that we came over hurt and oppressed also.
Yeah, absolutely.
Instead of the image of us coming over as if we had it all together, and this and that, we were coming over as wounded people as well.
Absolutely.
And so we were reacting and acting out, claiming from the outside versus the inside.
Right.
So it is the forgiveness of global forgiveness.
Absolutely.
Of passing behavior on from culture to culture and then trying to get control of it elsewhere outside of ourselves.
Yeah. The time is coming for all of us to remember who we really are. And the one song is another step in that direction. Yeah, and we are all one. And you know, and so we have to recognize what we do to others is what we're doing to ourselves. You know, and as we carry hatred and carry pain and grief from past generations, we're really hurting ourselves with that. You're not hurting the people that you're hating, you're hurting yourself. And that's the releasing. You know, so we don't not just have to release, you know, what's going on with others, but we have to forgive ourselves. We've got to forgive ourselves for what we did to survive.
Right.
What we did to get through the traumas of our life. And, you know, that we carry that guilt with us if we don't. And that will tear us apart and keep us closed where we're not open to the one song, not open to that knowing. I had been involved with using horses for healing, and equine assisted psychotherapy was called. And I had become aware of substance abuse and a lot of challenges that the youth in Cherokee were having.
Okay.
So I invited doctors and nurses from the hospital to come over to Horse Sense of the Carolinas to learn about using horses for therapy.
And dealing with addictions as well?
Yes, and dealing with addictions.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So how does that work with the horses and therapy? And
it was a beautiful experience. You have to experience that to know what it is.
Right.
You can't explain it. So,
right.
So when they came over and they worked with the horses, and there was a lot of emotions that came up for them, even.
Okay.
For the doctors and the nurses and the therapists, and so they got a taste of what it was really like. And the key to horses is that a horse is an animal that is preyed upon. So they read energy very well.
Yes.
And so if your inside doesn't match your outside, they let you know.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's how it works. And they are very large animals.
Right.
So there's a natural, a little respect for that size, you know, especially for your child, even adults. So it's very effective. And so as they start to do exercises, it's not a riding program, it's a communication program. And they realize that, you know, if I don't communicate honestly with this horse, it lets me know. A horse that senses contradiction will move away.
Interesting.
Yeah. A horse that senses aggression will move away.
So they help you set boundaries?
Yes,
perhaps?
help you set boundaries and help you learn to communicate in a different way, and also build up confidence and self-esteem.
I've heard and experienced it goes a little bit deeper in the healing process to work with horses, and much getting to the core issues versus just kind of skimming the surface.
Oh, absolutely.
You can't really, if you say
you can't
more
use your
authentic.
skills that you have used.
Human skills.
Right. You can't use
okay.
those skills that you've used to manipulate therapists with a horse. It doesn't work.
Right. So
a horse reflects what's going on inside of you.
What's
That's
authentic.
Very authentic.
Okay.
Very consistent, non-judgmental.
Beautiful.
You know, but it's like, wonder why that horse ran away from me.
Interesting.
Yeah, so you have to look inside and say, oh, well, Yeah, I was a little bit upset today, you know, and then the truth starts to come out. And I've actually seen horses, this is the truth, that have gone to the far end of the arena.
Right.
When somebody is not matching inside to outside. And because that's their, you know, what's a horse's survival technique? The first thing they do is run.
Right.
Yeah, they only fight if they're cornered.
Okay.
Okay. So, you know, they will move away as much as they can from danger. And so I've seen the horse go to the far end of the arena. Mm-hmm. And as the person that's in this therapy session starts to open up
and heal,
and their inside start to match their outside, I have literally seen a horse walk from the end of the arena back up to that person and lay their heads on their back.
Oh, how beautiful.
And the guy just crumbled, you know, because he realized what he was doing. Yeah, so it's an awakening. It's a powerful therapy. Many children came out, many to do therapy for a good while. Some of them were diabetic.
Okay.
And so it helped with their diabetes because it helped their self-esteem, and it helped them learn to set boundaries and control what they were doing.
Interesting.
And also we got children from a lockdown facility, which were not just Cherokee. This is a facility that is used for any Native American that has not been responding to therapy. Traditional therapy.
Okay.
And it's really the final step between Cherokee and federal prison.
Okay.
If they don't clean up at this, then they're going to go to prison. And so it's an opportunity.
Okay.
And so they come to this facility on the eastern band of the Cherokee Indians, Koala Boundary. And we had that for several years, where the children that have been exposed to the worst of the worst,
okay,
came and did therapy with the horses, and it was just a magnificent thing to experience.
Break the cycle. I broke the cycle.
Jimmy Z, so Jimmy, the music of the 60s, who were some of your favorite bands of the Woodstock generation that you remember?
Yeah, Joe Cocker, Santana, Paul Butterfield, and of course, Zeke Giza, Giza.
The Gizas.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a shame when they broke up, huh?
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. I was really big fan.
I heard you were the king of pranks. That one goes down in history at one of the festivals.
Yeah, I couldn't help myself.
The new term is called PTSD now, which is a portable toilet post-traumatic stress syndrome.
Oh.
All concert goers now have suffered a panic over.
Yeah, I think I started.
They think of Jimmy Z when they think of.
Yeah, well, as it happens, I have the utmost respect for Zeke, and still do. But I couldn't help myself. We were at a big festival, and just all the biggest stars, Mick Jagger, Led Zeppelin, everybody was there, and we're all backstage, outdoors. It was a big outdoor arena, I think in Philadelphia, 100,000 people, and everyone was going, "Hey, there's Zeke," these people, and then I was going, "Oh yeah, man." And so then there was this little grassy knoll, and at the bottom was three porta potties, and with the people backstage. And I saw Zeke taking off down the hill towards the porta potty alone, and I was just thinking, and then all these people go, "Wait, look, Zeke, he's going to have a flash, and all this, And I'm going, "Geez," and then I went, So I kind of slipped away, and I was behind him a ways, and I made my way down towards porta potties myself, and by the time I got there, he was already in one, and I could hear him peeing, you know, and so I don't know why I grabbed it and I went wow, 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 and he's going, hey, 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 and I'm laughing, I look up the hill and there's all these like Tom Petty, these superstars and everybody, they're going, and you know, and I went,
You shook Zeke. And how did he handle it?
Well, I made my way back. I was with Tom Petty at the time, and Tom's usually like, hey, what's happening? You know, real kind of slow country guy, and I got to him, he goes, are you out of your mind? That was Zeke Giza, man. And I said, well, calm down, man. It's gonna be okay, you know. And like, he goes, can't believe you did that, you know. And I'm with a bunch of people around it, but everybody's looking down that hill at that porta potty for Zeke to come out. And sure enough, the door opens up, slams open. He comes out, little stinky face, and he's looking around, looking up the hill, and he's got these faded Levi's on, and you could see a pee stain all down his pants. And I started busting up again. Really close to getting fired that day. we had a funny saying, a fine line between humor and unemployment. You know?
Right.
I was riding that line big that day.
Yeah,
But I think he had a sense of humor. It's okay.
Wild Willie, you know, yeah, I mean, there's many drummers, you asked me about drummers earlier. Wild Willie really sticks out. He was just a class of his own. I couldn't believe it when the Gizas broke up. I thought, Wild Willie will go on to be, you know, the phenomena that he is, you know. And I just don't know what happened, you know. But now that I hear the Gizas are getting back together again, I'm like...
Well, that's the rumor. What's it going to take for us to get them back together for World Stock?
Oh, I don't know.
That was a bad breakup. I mean, you know how bands are.
Yeah, Wild Willie. Well, just to hear that name again, you know, being performing is like killing me here. You know, I mean, I really want...
What can we do to get the Gizas back together for World Stock?
Well...
What does it take to really want to play again and worth putting everything aside?
I don't know. Money? I don't know. It's like just maybe if everyone gets together and everyone kind of like roots for the Gizas and just to get them going again, because we need them. This world needs the Gizas, and to see Wild Willie, I want to see Wild Willie playing again.
Break the cycle.